So there was a post on social media talking about how in 1879, women, okay, it simply said women. It did not say any sort of specific woman, okay, and that's important, okay. So it said that women made half as much money as men who were working for Harvard on some mapping the stars project, right? So men, and again, there was no specification, right? Made 50 cents a day or something, and women made 25 cents a day, okay? So I commented under this with some corrections. I said, let me correct you all. White women made half as much as white men, okay? So white men were making 50 cents a day or whatever it said. White women were making 25 cents a day. A black man would have been making maybe 10 cents a day, and a black woman would have been making maybe 5 cents a day, right? Y'all, a white woman came and replied to my comment, and she said, oh, that's probably true for black women, but black men have more access to everything than all women, including white women. Remember, black men got the right to vote before white women did. And I said, girl, huh? Like, in what realm do you exist in? Because am I tripping, or did white women not get the right to vote in 1920? And black men and black women got the right to vote in 1965 with the Voting Rights Act. Like, what are we talking about? Where's this revisionist history coming from? Please, somebody get me hip. Now, clearly this woman is referring to the fact that the 15th Amendment was ratified in 1870 and stated that all men could vote. So on paper, yeah, it said all men could vote, right? But what do you think happened to black men when they went to the polls to attempt to vote? Do you think that white men were like, oh yeah, my brother, like, mind you, this is 5 years after slavery, right? Do you think that white men were like, yeah, come on, vote, like, yeah, we're all men, right? Are we serious here? Like, what are we talking about? Like, what are y'all learning in school? Y'all never learned about like literacy tests or poll taxes or grandfather clauses or whatever they call them. You know, oh, if your grandfather couldn't vote, then you can't vote. Well, my grandfather was enslaved, so of course he couldn't vote. Well, I guess I can't vote, right? Y'all never heard of lynching? What do you really think was going to happen if a black man pulled up to the voting polls in 1870, right? But you sitting here on social media in 2025 talking about black men have the right to vote before white women. Bitch, are you stupid? You gotta be dumb. Something I've mentioned on YouTube before is, well, let's take a look at the calendar. In February, it is Black History Month, and in March, it is Women's History Month, right? But you all will notice that during Black History Month, I have no problem posting black men. But during Women's History Month, have you ever seen me post a white woman or an Asian woman or any other type of woman other than a black woman? No, because realistically, an advancement for white women is not an advancement for black women. An advancement for Asian women is not an advancement for black women. An advancement for any of you bitches is not an advancement for black women, right? But an advancement for black men is more likely to be an advancement for black women. That is the reality, right? So when I look at history and I see, oh, this white woman was the first woman to go to this university, that doesn't mean anything to me as a black woman. That has nothing to do with me and my struggle, right? But when I see, oh, this black man was the first black person to go to this university, that actually means something, right? And that's not me being a pick me or anything like that, because y'all are finna come to the comments saying dumb shit, but it's the reality, right? In this system of white supremacy, my oppression is more closely linked to black men's oppression than it is to white women's on any day. Y'all know one thing about me, I'm going to tell the truth. And that means that I'm not going to sit here and lie just to prove a point about anything, right? This is the reality. Of course, racism is not the only oppression that exists. We can have those conversations all day. We can talk about how within the black community, black men hold the power. They oppress black women. Absolutely 100%, right? Like, I'm not saying that intersectionality does not exist, right? What I'm saying is that in the greater system of the world, right? Black men and black women are more closely linked than we will ever be linked to white men or white women based off of sharing a gender with them, right? Our shared race binds us together in a way that our shared gender does not bind us with white people. And I've mentioned like this hierarchy of oppression before, right? White people like to pretend that the hierarchy of oppression is like white men at the top, then white women all the way down there, and white gays all the way down there, and so and so and so. But realistically, it's really like straight white men up here, white women like right here, white gay people like right here, black people of all types all the way down there, right? You all like to pretend that your marginalized identity, and I put that in quotation marks, and I use it very loosely because y'all not marginalized by any means, but whatever, right? Y'all like to pretend that your, again, marginalized identity cancels out your whiteness, right? Y'all really like to pretend that y'all are at all in any way oppressed to the same capacity that black people are, and I'm not about to let y'all pretend like that, for real. White women, whatever story of oppression you have and you're telling, okay, keep that between you and white men, because I'm gonna tell you right now, you are not more oppressed than any group of black people. I'll tell you that right now. And again, y'all like to pick at black men because, you know, within black people, okay, black men are the least oppressed, right? But the least oppressed black person is a billion, jadillion, radadillion times more oppressed than the most oppressed white person. Let us make that very, very clear. Let's come on. Let's be for real, right? This is disingenuous. This is disingenuous. You telling me that in 1870 there was a law passed that said, yeah, all men could vote, and you really sitting here talking about, yeah, black men could vote before white women. Yeah, they're less oppressed than us. Bitch, are you fucking stupid? You really think a black man could go to the voting polls in 1870 and not get strung up from a fucking tree, bitch? Are you fucking dumb, right? But you sat here and you told that little fucking lie, that little half truth to paint a picture, right? A lot of times people won't outright lie. They'll build these little fake half truths around like, you know, something that is a thing, right? Yeah, the 15th Amendment was passed and it did say all men could vote, right? But you conveniently ignored everything that happened between the passing of the 15th Amendment and the Voting Rights Act, right? You conveniently ignored all of that to push your little narrative that you're actually fucking oppressed, bitch. And guess what? People who are oppressed don't have to do that, bitch. I can sit here and I can tell the straight up motherfucking truth. I don't have to paint half truths and string together little narratives and shit. I don't have to do that. Let me tell y'all a little story that I mention all the time, okay? Because I'm not even like joking, right? When I was in graduate school, there was this one white guy. He was like, you know, like high up in the chemistry department, and he was very rude, right? And it was to the point where I was like, is this motherfucker racist or something? Because like, what, right? But then one day I was around a group of the other TAs and they were all white, and they brought him up and they were like, oh yeah, he's like super rude, so and so and so. So that's when I realized like, okay, no, he's not racist. He's just rude, right? But this white girl, she said, yeah, like, you know, like, I'm glad to hear you guys, you know, bring this up. And, you know, because I thought he was discriminating against me. And I was like, on the basis of what? Because, like, what, right? So she was like, because I'm a woman. And I was like, oh, I guess you are. Like, but whenever I think of that, I just have to laugh, right? Because it's like, white women, like, girl, are you serious? But that goes to show you we're living in two different realities, right? When I have an interaction with the white man and it's very negative all the time, I don't assume, is he misogynistic? Is he discriminating against me because I'm a woman? Because realistically, when I interact with white people, that's not why they discriminate against me, right? They discriminate against me because I'm black. So when this white girl was sitting here talking about, yeah, golly gee willikers, I thought he was discriminating against me. I was like, I literally said, on the basis of what? Because like, you're lacking the basis on which he would discriminate against me for. So what are you talking about? It's funny because now I'm sitting here thinking about it, and I actually had a similar, not really similar, but kind of like, you know, it kind of like lines up, right? Interaction in undergrad, right? There was this rude professor, and I was talking to a black guy about it, not a white girl, right? And literally the black guy was like, yeah, man, I'm thinking like, is this dude racist? And I was like, yes, what is going on, right? But I'm laughing because you see, when it happened with a black guy, we were on the same page. Yeah, is this motherfucker racist? Because when it comes to a white person oppressing us, The primary reason that they're going to be oppressing us is because we're black. And like I think I said, I'm not saying like my womanhood isn't a part of my identity or anything like that. What I'm saying is that in this system of white supremacy, the only thing y'all give a fuck about is blackness, okay? I'm not saying that my womanhood is not important or that I don't care about it, but y'all don't care about it, right? That is the reality. Any black person of any intersecting identity, right? Say there's a black LGBTQ person. I promise you, if a white person is oppressing them, it's not going to be because they LGBTQ. It's going to be because they're black, right? And look, I'll be generous. Like I think I said, because I might have deleted, I be recording and sometimes I delete little clips and then I re-record or something. So I might have said this already, right? But 95% of the oppression that I get from white people is going to be race-based. Maybe 5%, they might add in a little gender-based, remix or something. And I'm sure the same thing might be true with a black LGBTQ person, right? They might add in a little 5% of homophobia, but again, the vast majority of it is going to be about race. That's the reality. So when white women are sitting here talking about any group of black people got it better than white women, girl, you got it damn good in this system of white supremacy. Like I said, stop pretending that it's white men up here and you all the way down here with the blacks. Bitch, you right up there with the white men. Take a look in the mirror, please. I'm so confused at the extent that white women go to be the victim, right? Because it would have been bad enough if this white woman had said, yeah, right now in 2025, black men are above white women. That would have been crazy enough. Because right now in 2025, if a white woman calls the cops and says, yeah, this big black man is scaring me, guess what? Every black man in the city is going to get profiled by the cops, locked up, killed, harassed, etc. based off of that call, right? But I promise you, black men cannot call the cops and say, oh, this white woman is scaring me. I'm just a frail black man, please. And anything happen from that, right? So like I said, it would be crazy enough if she had said right now in 2025 that black men are above white women. That would have been like completely just egregious enough, right? But she talking about in 1870? Bitch, are you dumb? Like, oh my God, y'all, I'm at a loss.